All right, back in open session at 6:23. Karen has a 6:45 roughly departure time, so as a result, I'd like to move a couple of things up on the agenda before we get to reports and even public input, if no one has an objection to that. We would be starting with item F regarding Gordon College.
I appreciate that, Ben. Thank you.
All right, great. So let's go to item F. The board will discuss messaging to be conveyed to Gordon College by the working group assembled by the town administrator ahead of their meeting with the college president and staff. Steve, if you could just kind of bring us up to speed on that.
Yeah, sure. So a couple months ago now, the select board drafted a letter in open session that, expressed our thanks to the college for allowing us to utilize their Bennett Center as, basically the backup and ultimately needing to use the center for our special town meeting. And with that, we asked if they would consider a meeting to, kind of use the opportunity to open communications with the college to see, if there's anything we could collaborate on that could be, mutually beneficial to both the town and the college. And this here is, and I pulled together a working group who Karen Anger and Deidre Parati, and I think Deidre had some comments, some reservations that she wanted to bring up, but unfortunately she got called away to an emergency here. But basically we're just looking for, essentially talking points and messaging that the board would like us to bring to the meeting. We don't want to meet without an agenda, and we're looking for feedback from the board on thoughts that they would like the working group to deliver on behalf of the board to the meeting board.
Great. Karen, you had made the original recommendation after the special town meeting that we engage with Gordon College, and you're on the working group, so I'd like to turn it to you to get your feedback on what you think the objectives of this initial meeting should be.
I think initially the objective was to open the dialogue, understand, and have a little bit of a history to go back. Obviously, I am new to the engagements of the town of Wenham using Gordon College. I don't have the longevity of some of the history that goes back there between the college and the town itself. I'd really like to be able to move forward with them, find a way to set up a working group with them. There was a lot of concerns that we had received from residents going into the town meeting regarding their ideologies. It's not something that I feel under any circumstance that we need to change their way of thinking, but I do think that we should have an open dialogue to find out how we can better support them as far as the community goes, and have them understand maybe some of the concerns directly of what were the residents had said, and really see if we can move forward together. It's a beautiful college. It's directly in our backyard, and I'd like to be able to move forward and leave a lot of the concerns or some of the history behind us and find a way to work together. And I know that we've received some pretty eloquently written documentation about why the residents don't necessarily want to continue using Gordon, and maybe we address that on not necessarily our first conversation with them, but go in and start the conversation and let them know that we have some concerns, but at the same time we'd like to move forward.
Thanks, Karen. Gary or Peter, do you have any comments on what you would see as goals for this initial meeting?
So this is Gary. So I would say that one of the most important goals would be to maintain the dialogue about potential Gordon College developments. We a couple years ago we had the Pulte homes possibility. So certainly anything of that scale or any other activity that Gordon College would move into, certainly the impact on the town would require us to at least stay apprised and hopefully have early notice so that the town can plan on such changes.
Good one.
Thanks, Gary. Peter, anything to add?
Nope.
Great. And Deirdre's not back, is she? No.
She's not.
Okay. All right. And it sounds like, Steve, that that Deirdre may not want to be in the working group. I don't know if she's expressed that explicitly, but I know she had some concerns about the approach, and so we'll let her speak for herself. But if that's the case, and the board decides that it's wise to go forward, which I think there seems to be a consensus to do that, and we've sent a letter saying that we want to do that, so I think we ought to follow through with it. Then I don't know whether either Gary or Peter, you might be willing to replace Deirdre in the working group. I say that only because my understanding is that may be something that Deirdre wants, but she's not here to speak for
Yeah,
herself.
so I think generally, as you said, there seems to be a consensus that we'll move forward, and I can talk with Deirdre offline and see if she wants to continue participating, and if not, I will pull somebody else in.
Great. Are there any members of the public? First of all, are there any members of the public who are physically in the Council on Aging, or no?
No.
Jack
Okay.
Kelsey.
So are there any members of the public who are in Zoom world like Karen and me who wish to be heard on this agenda item?
No hands are raised, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right. Why don't we? I know that that Karen, you've got a short window and that you want to be part of the item H school committee. I'd like to do something quick before that if we can, because I know Deirdre would also want to speak to H, and it sounded like she thought she might be able to return to the meeting relatively quickly. So why don't we move to item C, which I know Martha Brennan is present for, Wenham Human Rights Committee to present Indigenous Peoples Day proclamation.
Can you hear us, Martha?
I can hear you.
Good.
We can hear you too. Hi, Martha.
Okay. Hi. Thanks for letting me on the agenda. Special thanks to Steve because a week got away from me last week, so thank you for amending that. The Human Rights Committee did want to have an official proclamation this year about Indigenous Peoples Day and also recognize the work of Robbie Cochran, who wrote a book about Indigenous people in Wenham, and so sort of recognizing that we have used his research in informing this proclamation, and we're also putting a little link into it. The group also, before I get to the official proclamation, we're also working on a self-guided tour of some of the sites that he has highlighted in his work, and we hope to roll that out for November, which is Indigenous Peoples Month. We couldn't quite get it to the finish line for Indigenous Peoples Day because we didn't have a quorum at our meeting last night. So we're just going to do a few touches on that. I'll run it by the town manager, and then just hope to, through some social media posts, just kind of highlight some of the places in town so people can actually drive by and think about it.
Hey, Martha, this is
Word.
Martha. Martha, this is Peter
ahead.
Clay. You might want to check in with Kate Mallory in terms of how you get the word out.
Okay. Yeah, I think she was my inspiration actually, because I saw the Miles River self-guided tour, and I was like, that is what we need to do. So
Right.
we have all the little pieces. We just kind of need to make it look a little better. So we just need another couple weeks to do that. So anyway, I'm happy to read this, or if one of the select, I don't know how it works like officially. I know that at other proclamations, sometimes the select board member reads it into the record, but you guys tell me what you prefer.
Why don't we, just to be efficient, why don't we ask a select board member to read it in as part of a motion, so it could be,
Perfect.
moving to, declare the following and then reading it.
Do you want me to read it?
That would be great, Peter, thank you.
Draft 2025 Indigenous Peoples' Day Proclamation, Town of Wenham, Indigenous Peoples' Day, October 13th, 2025. On October 13th, 2025, the Town of Wenham joins communities across the Commonwealth and the nation in honoring and celebrating Indigenous peoples. We recognize the enduring presence, rich cultures, and significant contributions of Indigenous peoples, past, present, and future, and we acknowledge their deep and continuing ties to this land. Whereas the Pawtucket people migrated into what is now Essex County between 750 and 1,000 years ago, and whereas the first English settlers of Wenham chose to establish their homes near land that the Pawtucket had already cleared for growing corn, along a well-traveled trail that connected their villages of Agawam, now with Ipswich, and Nomkeg, now Salem, and whereas indigenous people lived and worked in Wenham into the late 1600s, and whereas in 1700, their heirs of Quonopapconnet, also known as Masconomet, indeed deeded the land now occupied by the town of Wenham to the English settlers, and whereas the town of Wenham strives to be an inclusive and welcoming community committed to understanding its full history and honoring the legacy of the first peoples of this land, and whereas residents of Wenham are encouraged to learn more about this important local history, including through the work of local author Robert O. Corcoran, Indigenous People in Wenham 2023, available via archive.org. Now, therefore, the Wenham Select Board does hereby proclaim October 13th, 2025 as Indigenous Peoples' Day in the town of Wenham. We encourage all residents to take this day to reflect on the history, resilience, and cultures of Indigenous peoples and to honor their invaluable contributions to our community and our nation.
Gary seconds.
Thank you, Peter. Great, so we will take a roll call vote on the motion to so proclaim, October 13th as Indigenous Peoples' Day in Wenham. Roll call, Karen,
Absolutely, yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Peter,
Yep.
and Ben is yes. Martha, thanks once again for spearheading an important initiative like this, and appreciate you bringing this forward.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Thanks. All right, now let's move to item H. Discussion on the upcoming joint interview with the school committee to fill David Polito's seat, scheduled for the Wenham Select Board meeting on October 21st, in 2 weeks. The Select Board will review the interview questions previously used by the school committee and Hamilton Select Board during the appointment of Trent Honda's seat recently, and use those questions as a starting point to develop our own set of questions. So if we could put the questions, which I believe are in the packet, up on the
They weren't.
screen. Or were they not in the packet?
No. No big deal.
I'm just trying to figure out how to get them on there.
Do you have the, I know that PDF is in your email, Steve, I could
Can you get on your email?
dig it up.
I can look
Perfect.
for it.
So while we're waiting for those to go up, the questions that you're gonna see on the screen are a combination of Hamilton Select Board questions and Hamilton Wenham School Committee questions. So each of those boards came up with their own questions to ask candidates to fill the recent vacancy on the school committee that was created when Trent Honda, a Hamilton resident, moved out of state. And so we're going to work off of those. And
Ben, what did you think of the questions?
I thought they were good. I had a couple. There were a couple of select board questions that Hamilton select board questions that I might want to tweak a little bit, but it's possible that there may be other questions that aren't on there that members of our board may want to ask. So that's the,
And can
Sort of
you
that's
can you
up for
re-forward them? I
discussion.
haven't had time finding that email on my phone.
yeah.
Possible.
Unless, am I allowed to share my screen or no?
Actually, yeah,
Yeah, I can make you a copy.
All right, so let me,
it's the easiest.
all right, well, so let me do that. So,
Ben, can I ask you a quick question while you're doing that?
yes.
Are we stuck to these questions, or can we pivot as people answer questions and we can,
You see that
further
in the
deep dive
code?
into some
You
of their
see that,
answers?
Oh, I didn't see it on.
So,
Yeah.
Karen, I would
I-
think absolutely.
Well, so yeah, I don't think that we're stuck with these. I do think, however, that that if we get more than one candidate, and I think right now we only have one candidate, so this may not be an issue, but if we have more than one candidate, the initial sets of questions I think ought to be the same so that they're on an even playing field.
Right.
But I think, yeah, I mean, if based on how someone answers a question, I don't see any reason why there can't be some, some back and forth. It'll make it a more meaningful dialogue. All right, so let me now
That was
share.
actually my main question about this, because in looking back at the hiring of, or the appointment of Trent's replacement, there wasn't a lot of deviating off the conversation. So I want to make sure as people answer the questions that we have the availability to, deep dive into this. I think this is a very important seat from a town perspective. And I think from a select board perspective, this truly does show, our commitment to the town and the commitment to the school committee, and I think this is a huge appointment. So I don't want to get stuck where if we have a question that somebody doesn't answer correctly, or if they provide a strength or a weakness that might not necessarily be in tune with what we're thinking, I'd like to be able to discuss it with them. And that was my main concern
Did you
for,
save her?
category H at this point. But if you
Okay.
said that that's fine, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think it sounds like all of us would want the ability to ask follow-up questions, and since we're going to be, part of the interviewing group, then I think we should do that if we want to, and we can, when we provide our list of sort of the starting questions, let's call them, to the school committee, we can also make it clear that we also may have follow-up questions based on the responses.
Thank you.
Now, so this list, the italicized questions, which start with number 4, were the Hamilton Select Board questions, and the ones that aren't italicized were the school committee questions. So why don't we just start going through them, and they're only 6, so be easy. All right, so the first one, in your opinion, what is the district doing well, and what are some challenges that you see? How would you work on the committee to work through those challenges? When I read that, I thought that's perfectly fine, but I think that a more meaningful question and answer might be whether the candidate thinks that there are certain priorities of the school committee that ought to be changed. I'd be interested to know if there's a candidate who says, for example, well, I think that the following issues should be made a greater focus, a greater priority. That's sort of what I'd be more interested in. The language of challenges is a little bit fuzzy for me. So I'd think more about what are your priorities? Your top 3 priorities as a school committee member. What do you think are the top 3 most important issues that the school district needs to address, or something like that?
Gary agrees. I think number 1, it needs to be more specific. So something, as you said, Ben, what are your 3 top priorities rather than just a general question?
So 1, what are your 3 top priorities? Or with the follow-up, how would you work on the committee to work through those 3 challenges?
Yeah, I think so. In your opinion, what are the three top priorities for the school district? And how would you work on the committee to focus on those priorities? Maybe.
Sold.
Great. All right, number two, what do you see as the role of the school committee? What are your areas of interest on the committee and what strengths do you bring? To me, I thought again, like it should be tightened and just like someone should ask the candidate, what are your qualifications and experience that make you believe that you're, you know, a good fit for the role? Just sort of what they're getting at, asking about strengths, but
What does HR say?
Yeah, I mean, we could separate those. I also think number three is like a yes/no question, and I think it's kind of a waste of a question. And is it going to change our opinion regardless of what they say? I mean, people can think about if they want to run, but
Why would you want to be interim and not run?
yeah, it seems like you would want to, but if we're doing six, that seems like not a priority question to me. So you could split number two is
Right.
one option.
well, and the other thing is that the school committee is going to be meeting to come up with their own questions. And number three in this example was a school committee question, not a Hamilton Select Board question. So we also haven't decided, like, is there going to be a total of 6 questions between the two boards, not counting follow-ups? So all of that seems to suggest that, as far as our board's concerned, that we wouldn't have number three as one of our questions at all. But number two, maybe we want to, as you said, to break that up.
Yep.
Because the first question is different. What do you see as the role of the school committee? That's probably
Full stop.
yeah, exactly. And the school committee itself is probably going to have that question. So that could be our question two, and then our question three could be, what do you see as your qualifications and experience that make you, a good fit for a position on the school committee?
A good candidate, yep.
You're a candidate. All right, so that gets us down to number 4, which this was a Hamilton Select Board question before, asking about budget season. How would you get up to speed on the budgeting process? What do people think of that question?
That's called connect with Vinny.
I mean, I guess I would broaden it and just say, yeah, I mean, we're at the front end of budget season, but I think it's how would you get up to speed on the governmental aspects of school committee and municipal budgeting?
I like that.
Yes, the large part of the job, although they have their specialties, the biggest part of the job is the finances. That's the big question for the school committee. So I think, as Deidre said, we need to expand that question a little bit more.
Okay. Steve, Joe, or Michelle, you guys are taking down the
Yeah, we got the tape.
Yeah, you might,
questions.
yeah, that's
Great.
true.
Thank
You
you.
might have a better way to word that, the getting up to speed.
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Okay.
All right, how about number 5? It's critical to engage with diversity of opinion when discussing issues and proposing solutions to those issues. What are your strengths in reaching consensus when not everyone agrees?
That's just,
I'd say, what is your experience?
Perhaps to be more illustrative, if we got very specific and said, with the recent number of school votes not passing, how would you unify the two towns to find a new path forward? Something like that. A challenging question.
Sure.
But it's going to be the one they're going to have to answer on the board.
yeah, I think
Well,
that's a good
I
one.
don't think it's a one-person job, but yes.
Yep. All right, good. And then 6 is just, that seems like a school committee question. And, that's really more, I mean, not that we're unconcerned with the time commitment, but that's, I think, something that the school committee can decide whether they want to ask the candidates in terms of subcommittee membership and time investment. But I would think we would leave 6 off of our questions.
Agreed.
Makes
One
sense.
thing that this doesn't have is anything regarding their feeling or their understanding about the regional school district agreement in general. And so that seems to be an extremely hot topic. And I, especially coming from a Wenham seat, I'd really like to know, not necessarily what their thought, I mean, yes, I would like to know what their thoughts are. They don't necessarily have to provide that, but I do think that they need to be able to answer, you know, how much information they have on it, you know, where they stand a little bit on, you know, have they researched the agreement or things like that. I think that people are going to be looking for that kind of answer more than how do you feel about working together.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think
I just don't know how to word it.
as you said, it's a hot topic now. I mean, we at our last meeting we talked a little bit, you know, publicly about some of our priorities there. So, you know, it should not that there were hundreds of people watching us talk about that, but
Thousands.
the information's out there as far as, you know, some of the issues that are important to Wenham on the renegotiation of the regional agreement. So, no, I think to me, I think that would be a important question to ask.
Well,
Does
then
anybody
how would-
disagree?
I think it depends on how you're phrasing it. So what's the specific question?
I mean, I think it's part maybe, you know, what is your understanding of starting with what is your understanding of the current state of the regional agreement? Because then it'd be interesting to see what does the person even know that it's something that's coming up for renewal. So that would be kind of a baseline question. And then if they answer yes, perhaps the question is, you know, do you have an understanding of what some of the key issues to be resolved are in the agreement? I don't know. I mean, it's to be if somebody has that information and that background, like I would want to know it. Like if someone said, "Yeah, I think that we really, you know, that there should be changes to the, you know, to the apportionment funding mechanism or something like it." That'd be something we'd probably want to know. I'm not sure how we draw it out necessarily, other than just trying to get a sense of what knowledge they have about the regional agreement and potential issues in it.
I'd also like to find out by wording the question whether or not their focus would be on Wenham or whether it would be on the regional school district in general. I mean, I don't necessarily think you can ask somebody how they voted, but I definitely would like to be able to have a candidate that more aligns with how the select board and how the town in general has voted. Wenham has eloquently voted for the school. The select board has voted for the school. We've had some challenges with that. So I'd hate to be able to not acknowledge that during this process.
I think, I don't know, I think that's a slippery slope to question if someone agrees with us as a condition. I mean,
I don't necessarily have to agree, but they have to agree on the next steps, right? And I think that that's where as a representative of Wenham on the school committee, I think that they should be aligned with the rest of the leaders in Wenham.
I mean, to me, the question is more about the skills and experience, and does the person have experience with complicated negotiations, and how would they approach that type of situation, than sort of feeling out their specific feelings on this issue before they're actually in the position. I don't know. I guess I'm more interested in what strengths they bring and what experience.
What's the practical timeline, Gary and Steve, on when the regional agreement is likely to be agreed upon in principle versus the new member coming onto the school committee and having any input into that process?
My understanding is the input phase is effectively over, or will be. Is it tomorrow, Gary, or next Wednesday?
Yeah, next Wednesday, right?
Next Wednesday. And not to say, I mean, I guess it's not to say things can't change, but basically we're everyone is coming together next Wednesday to, you know, effectively say like, yes, you know, we've we've all put our input in and, you know, send it to the lawyers to see if, you know, what we're looking to do is legally allowable before we start negotiating the finer points. So I guess all that to say is I'm not sure this individual would have much input.
That's right.
Yeah.
Karen, does that change your view of things, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm well aware that they're not gonna make it a substantial impact in 4 months.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
just mean
think-
specifically on the region, the fact that the regional agreement may be baked by next week. And, you know, when we're interviewing the person, it may no longer really be a live issue.
But in any case,
Be a live issue for quite some time.
I mean, it is the basic document, so if they're going on the committee, they ought to demonstrate an understanding up front of what the document is and what it says.
And that's my point. I think that we need to have somebody in the seat that is understanding of the sides and not just somebody who, you know, has read the paper or Facebook. I think we need somebody who is truly ready to commit to this position. And I think that kind of question is important.
So maybe the question is something like, please tell us your understanding of the current state of the regional agreement and 2 or 3 important issues that it covers, something like that.
Yeah. You could also give them a really Hail Mary and say, is there something in there that you would have added? And see where they go with it. And that could be anything. That could be from scores to, you know, another softball field. I mean, it could be, that's a very open-ended question with the idea that hopefully they'll be able to divulge a little bit more information about how they're feeling.
What do the other select board members think about this? Should we have the question, and if so?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that that's illuminating when it's largely negotiated. Sorry, go ahead, Gary.
So I'm thinking, I think 2 times ago, the chair of the select board and the chair of the school committee need to arrive at the agreement as to how the interview is going to go. And I think
Right.
a couple times ago, we had 5 standard questions from the select board, 6 from the committee, so each person asked 1 standard question. So we really don't need 6 here, we need just 5 from the select board. And then you could agree with the chair of the school committee to have the second round of questions posed by individuals as we go around the time, because otherwise, I mean, that gives you 22 questions for the interview. Just so 6 standard from school, 5 from us, and then somewhere between 1 and 11 as the individual interviewers get to ask their own personal question. That's more than enough, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
So is that a
Yeah.
no?
That's I think, you know, if it's particular interest, then that's perhaps your question. Otherwise, you know, I would like to see it down to just the 5 because otherwise the time's going to run crazy at the meeting.
the thing that what I've discussed is with the chair of the school committee that so far, and we've had a couple of calls on this, including, you know, looking at these questions. It did not include, and I'm not saying that we couldn't revisit it, but it did not include, you know, a full round of individual member questions after the after these questions. That does not mean, as we've just talked about, that there won't be follow-up questions to the candidates' answers to the questions that are on the script, so to speak. So sort of a different issue. But I think the way that Dana and Lara and I have discussed it, there would be a list of questions like this list that would be a combination of those that we've just come up with and those that the school committee are going to come up with. Some of those are probably going to overlap because we've already identified some that we like, slightly revised, that we're school committee questions the last time around. So it may be that there ends up being, let's say, like 8 different questions between the two boards. And then those would be divvied up however they're divvied up in terms of board members asking certain questions. And then follow-ups, we'd like to have follow-ups to the candidates' answers to those, let's say, 8 questions. So if we did it that way and we didn't have the regional piece as one of the questions, and I don't see that it would be asked. So I think that if we include it on our list, there's already going to be some overlap on some of these with the school committee questions. So I don't think we're going to end up with too many of these scripted questions.
So let's
that
put it
makes
on our
sense.
list, and are we going to have the full list back from you and Dana before the meeting?
Yes. Yeah, so what we'll do is when, after tonight's meeting, I'll send Dana and Steve and Joe and Michelle are working on the tweaks to our questions. So we'll agree on however many questions we agree on, which I guess would be 5 or 6. So we split some up. And then we would send those to Dana. So I would support a version of the regionalization question that says something like, what is your understanding of the status of the agreement, and what are 2 or 3 issues that you believe are important that are covered in the regional agreement, something like that, open-ended, and then there'd be opportunity for follow-up, and a little bit of Q&A, depending on how the people answer it.
I fully agree, and unfortunately, as I mentioned, I really gotta go. So, do we need a vote, or are we just discussing?
I don't think we need a vote. I think if we have a consensus on the questions, then we'll add them. And so I guess just right now it's just a question whether there's a third member who. It sounds like, Gary, that you're okay with adding that question to our list, the regionalization.
Yes, sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
P. Clay.
All right, great. So I think we have a consensus. And Steve, I can on the regional question. I mean, I just said it a couple times, but it probably inartfully, and there may be a better way to put that question, so we can talk more about it tomorrow if needed in terms of finalizing the wording before I send it off to Dana.
That works.
Mr. Chairman, there is a hand up, just so I know, I just wanted to point it out from the public.
Okay. All right, if you could bring the person over to the panelist side so they can speak. Miss Casagnazzi?
Hi, I'm a Wenham resident. I was just curious, is it public who is running for the school committee, or is there some way to find that out, or is that like hidden or private at this point?
I think it's public record. Steve, is it public record who's applied for the position?
I am actually unclear on that question. However, if you can take your information down, I'll get the answer to that, and if it is public, I will release it to you.
Okay.
And my understanding is that so far we've only been informed as a board of one Wenham resident who's applied. And as we said in prior meetings, we encourage anyone who's interested in filling the school committee position and who lives in Wenham to please throw your hat in the ring. But right now we just have one.
Yeah, you have an email? I mean, generally, if it was staff, it would not be public information, but when this is, it's an elected official elected seat that's going to be appointed. I just don't want to release anyone's private information without double checking. So what's your email? And I'll get back to you.
So I don't know if you can see my name there,
Yep.
but it's just nicole.castagnazzi@gmail.com.
All right, perfect.
Do you want me to spell it, or you can see it there?
No, I can see it, and I'll get back to you
Okay,
tomorrow.
perfect.
Cole dot.
All right, well, thank you for your comment, Ms. Casagnazzi. And are there any other members of the public who wish to speak?
No, that is it.
Great. All right, well, thanks, everybody. I think we had a good discussion on that issue, and now we can, I think, return to the top of the agenda. And I appreciate everybody's flexibility in allowing us to move around a little bit on the agenda. So we're now at actually, I'm sorry, we're at the at public input. So if there are any members of the public who wish to be heard on an issue that isn't specified on the agenda, please raise your hand, or if anyone has joined the COA forum, they can speak up.
There is no public comment.
All right, thanks. We'll move to reports and announcements. Number 1, town administrators update and town announcements.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple event updates this evening. First being open house at the fire station on October 8th. That's tomorrow night, Wednesday, 5 to 7. There'll be pizza from Five Sons and ice cream from Cherry Hill Farm will be served free of charge. They'll be going over fire safety tips. The kids can meet the firefighters and Sparky the fire dog, who I haven't met neither, and see and climb on the fire trucks. So
That's tomorrow at 6?
Tomorrow at 5 to 7 p.m.
5.
at the fire station, and it also is this week is Fire Prevention Week, October 5th to the 11th. So that's the reason for the open house. Other big news is the grand opening of West Wenham Park will be Saturday the 18th at 1 p.m. West Wenham Park is located up on Topsfield Road. The Cookie Monster will be here and will be offering free cookies and ice cream for the first 150 people. Face painting. There'll also be a dedication of a memorial bench and some learning opportunities about the Miles River watershed with the Ipswich River Watershed Association. And we'll be celebrating Arbor Day there by planting Wenham's 12th memorial tree. So again, that's Saturday, October 18th at 1 p.m., rain or shine. And I'll be saying a few words there, and I know Kate, if she hasn't already, will be reaching out to see if any of the members of the select board would like to say a few things. And finally, another update on the Town Hall HVAC for all the public that are out there listening. We will be officially moving off the second floor next Wednesday. What's Wednesday, the 10th or the 11th?
It's Wednesday.
15.
Oh, my God. All right, so next Wednesday, the 15th, the trout movers will be back to move about 9 desks and a bunch of file cabinets off the second floor down to the first floor. Will be all the staff that are currently on that are typically called the second floor home will be moving temporarily down to the first floor and sitting in the select board's office in kind of an open concept office space where we'll have approximately 9 desks there. And we will and then the following day on the 16th IT will be setting us up. So similarly to last time, there's a lot of moving pieces. We're gonna have to close town hall down to the public on that Wednesday and Thursday. However, we'll all remain available via telephone and email for questions, and online payments are still accepted. So we'll remain in operation as much as possible. But it's just, we're going to be in the midst of a move those 2 days and likely have limited access to the network at certain times throughout the day. And that's all.
Great, thank you. I don't have anything to report this evening. Do other select board members?
I do not.
No,
Peter?
Nope, I don't, Ben.
All right, thanks very much. We'll move to the consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda: minutes, the three of which executive session minutes we have. What do we need to do about the executive session minutes in open session, Steve? Do we need to?
Nothing now. It'll come back at the next meeting.
Okay,
It'll
so the
be-
consent agenda will be to approve the open session minutes of June 9th and June 11th, 2025 as written, and to appoint Emma Memo to an EMT position for a term starting October 7th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Do any members of the select board wish to discuss any of those items before we move to a consent approval?
Just
Right, hearing.
quick
ahead.
clarification, I didn't realize that we have them on the consent agenda for release tonight, so that's totally fine. If we can just do it now. So if you didn't amend, did you amend the consent agenda
No,
to change that?
we
Okay,
didn't.
so just, yeah, move forward with the consent agenda.
Except that we're not releasing the May 6th ones.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll make a motion to amend the consent agenda to approve minutes from the April 1st and June 17th, 2025 executive session, and the June 9th and June 11th, 2025 open session, and item B remaining the same. Is there a second?
Second, Gary.
All right, so this will be a roll call vote just to amend the consent agenda, starting with Deirdre,
Yes,
Peter,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and Ben is yes. And then I would entertain a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
So moved, Gary.
Is there a
Seconded.
second?
Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Roll call vote, Gary,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Deirdre,
yes.
and Ben is yes. Thanks very much. All right, we did item C already. We're on to item D, discussion and potential vote on Halloween trick-or-treat hours.
We're not gonna change them, are we?
No.
Who's holding the pumpkin on that to
You have
discuss?
what's the hours?
5 to 8?
5 to 8.
Dave.
Yeah, so the hours, I guess typically maybe we just, I guess the select board changed it based on the day of the week it falls. I'm just trying to think of a policy would just, this is something that just we vote on every year that I'm not sure has to be voted on every year. We just set the hours from 5 to 8. Unless you pick it, like, instead of some communities change, I don't know if Wenham does this. Like the falls on a Wednesday, they move it to a Friday or something like
I
that.
think we're overthinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just.
I think we've been
motion.
5 to 8 for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So we're not gonna change it.
We'll
Move-
bring back a policy at a later date.
I'm gonna move it.
Okay.
Move to approve Halloween trick or treat hours between the hours of 5 and 8 p.m.
Second, Peter Clay?
Thank you. Roll call, Gary,
Yes.
Deirdre,
Yes,
Peter,
yes.
and Ben is yes. All right, thank you. Item E, discussion and potential vote to select the 2026 annual town meeting date, along with discussion to set key dates and milestones needed to complete town meeting preparation materials. And Steve, this has to do with the fact that the date that we would normally have town meeting and the date that it's presently planned for is Saturday, April 4th, which is the day before Easter. And there's been some discussion with the town of Hamilton, I believe, and the school committee regarding budget issues and town meeting dates. And proposal to, I think, to move the town meeting a week out to Saturday, April 11th. Is that right?
Yeah, Joe did call me, Joe Denowitz called me this morning and said that last night the Hamilton Select Board voted to move the town meeting contingent on Wenham also approving. So they actually took a vote last night that we agree that they want to move theirs to April 11th, and then, by default, the election would then take place the following Thursday.
Makes sense.
Should be the 16th.
Easter's a big travel weekend.
And it doesn't change, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, it doesn't change anything with respect to the budget calendar, other than it basically builds in an extra week.
No, the budget, so this, right, it builds in an extra week, so the annual town meeting and budget calendar we'll just work backwards from town meeting, so essentially that will buy us an extra week. Everything gets to move out about a week as far as, because we really move around. We take town meeting date, then you back out about 4 or 5 weeks off that, and that's the mailing date, or the date we have to get the final warrant to the mailer, so that the residents can receive it in their mailbox approximately 2 weeks before town meeting date. And why we're talking about dates as well is the other key date that we'd like to ask the board, and something I think I sent an email last night or the day before, that we're looking to set the first Saturday in December. Traditionally, we aim for the first Saturday in December for our budget kickoff meeting. It's generally a 4-hour-ish meeting, maybe slightly less, 8 to noon time on a Saturday at Beaver School. That's really another key driver in our calendar. So if the select board, is amendable to that date, that would work well. And we can go ahead and then probably at our next select board meeting, would roll out our more comprehensive calendar that would include, the planning board's meetings, CPC, and everyone's select board and FinCom, and we work up into town meeting.
That makes sense.
Ready for the motion then, Ben?
Yes, please.
Move to hold the 2026 annual town meeting on April 11th, 2026.
Peter Clay seconds.
Thank you. Roll call. Deirdre?
Yes,
Gary?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And Ben is yes. That's great. All right, thank you. We've dealt with item F already.
December 6th, okay.
December 6th, okay?
Oh,
Good for me.
It is.
You guys generally are with that. All right.
Works for me.
Yep.
All right, that moves to item G, overview of what it means to be designated a climate leader in Massachusetts and the achievements the town would need to meet in order to receive that designation. Who wants to take that? Deirdre, Steve?
Deirdre probably talks a lot better than I can about this, but I'll just take a quick shot. At a high level, it's, Massachusetts used to have, or still does have a green community designation to communities that have made certain requirements, that met some criteria. And now they have, and I'm not sure how new it is, but it is certainly newer than green community, but they have a designation called climate leader. And what this is it's a green community, which is one of the requirements. You have to be a green community in good standing to be a designated climate leader, but then adds a number of other benchmarks that you have to meet. And, I have a list here. Michelle, you can just scroll down. The big ones is, we've done a couple of them. Like, we're already a green community. We've already established a climate committee, or climate action committee. But as far as I know, I think we've started for our municipal decarbonization roadmap. I think we've started exploring that, but don't have anything formal in place. So really, if you're looking at this list here in front of you, where it's 1 through 6, we've kind of checked box 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are outstanding, with probably the big. We've looked at.
Isn't fourth in process? And then we'd have to work
The geothermal project.
the 5 and 6.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's all town buildings. So I mean, we're making strides, but we have to formalize a plan. And one of the big things, or I guess a couple of them are probably pretty heavy lifts, I think. But the number 6 is, there's been a lot of talk about the stretch code. So this is something that, so essentially what I did was I added this as a goal and objective to the template that we looked at briefly last time. And then the action items, essentially the overarching goal is to become a climate leader, and the action items are effectively 3, 4, 5, and 6. So
Right.
if the board decides, this is kind of just a very general overview, but if the board decides that this is something that they would like to dedicate resources to and start exploring and working towards, then at another future meeting, and it can be relatively soon, we'll bring forward. Climate Action Committee's made a recommendation to adopt the stretch code, and then also maybe bring forth some practical concerns that the building inspector has about the stretch code specifically, and have a more in-depth conversation on that and really each one of these individually. Not sure, Deirdre, you have a better understanding of what's involved in some of this. Is this something that is it a 1-year project, or is it a multi-year?
I mean, a lot of it's developing plans, but just to clarify, so the climate committee has recommended that we pursue the climate leader designation. So I think the committee needs the opportunity to come in, present their discussions. They've sent us a memo sort of outlining a lot of what you just said, but also to explain the rationale. Because part of what this does is allow towns and cities to access a higher threshold of grant funding.
Right.
That there's previously been funding through the green communities, but this is now sort of next level. And a lot of the things that are outstanding are planning. You don't necessarily achieve all of this in sort of one fell swoop, but it's about working towards all of these things, including the stretch code, which I think we need to discuss in more detail. I'll just say the stretch code only applies to new construction, not existing, and that's an important distinction. So I think,
So Michelle, in the packet, you had their memo to us.
Yeah, the memo
Yeah.
has been distributed.
but I think they need the opportunity to come and discuss it, and
Right, we just this is
Fine.
this is like the high level.
This is like a high level because it's been added to the goals and objectives, and if this, as at a high level, the board's like, yeah, this is something we want to work towards, then
Okay,
it becomes a goal, and then
Let 'em-
start
let 'em
working
come in.
towards it.
I like it. The whole thing.
I do also.
Deirdre, when do you think that the committee will want to come in and present?
Tom's here tonight. Like,
We're happy to come.
you're happy to come, right? Yeah, whenever we can.
Yeah, whenever it's good.
You can call it joint.
Or we could do a joint meeting, that's true too, if you think that would be,
Might be good.
might be good. Then everyone can speak if they want to. Yeah. Do you have a meeting coming?
We're meeting this week,
You do?
Thursday.
So maybe you can,
Is that too soon?
well, we wouldn't, I mean, we
Yeah,
don't,
that's-
but
we could. I
you
work
could
that out.
talk, you can
Yeah.
bring it up and see if people want to just come and present, or would it be nice to have a joint meeting?
Okay.
That would be great.
Great. I would just note that if you're meeting Thursday, Tom, that you wouldn't be able to, under the open meeting law, put this on the agenda if it's not on there yet, because you need 48 hours.
Right,
Um,
right. So, but isn't there usually a provision that
For
things that
scheduling.
can be discussed that could come up? Is that possible that it could qualify for that?
Yeah, it's
So
largely,
is there like unexpected?
Yeah, it's a
New
48 hours. I
business.
think that'd be appropriate.
and it's largely a scheduling question, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not like.
Okay. Yeah. Certainly, if it's scheduling, all in that makes sense.
Mr. Chair, just Lucy McGovern has her hand raised.
Oh,
I believe
Lucy's
is
here.
also on-
Oh, there we go.
Yes. Yep. Ms. McGovern, I don't know if you're on the panelist side yet, but as soon as you are, please feel free to introduce yourself and speak.
You hear us, Lucy?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that this actually is an item on our agenda to listen in to what you all had to say and to report back and then go from there. So I would agree with Tom that that we would probably be more than happy to discuss this with you and give our rationale as to why we sent the memo and believe it would be in the best interest of the town to seek this designation. Yeah. So so we will be able to discuss it on Thursday.
Excellent.
Perfect.
That's great. All
Excellent.
right. Well, I think you have the full support of the board to move towards this designation. So look forward to meeting with you jointly whenever that can be arranged. Any other comments from anyone on this topic?
Sounds great.
I think that
Great.
when we do this, we need to publicize this, that we're doing this. I mean, residents should feel really good about what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Perhaps
All right.
too,
Thank you, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody else want to speak on G?
as Gary, I was just going to say that perhaps too, that the board needs to become technically smarter on this, and perhaps we need to have Rich, building inspector, come and talk to us too about what the real net noise are on this.
Yeah, he's writing a letter, and
Yeah.
I'm also going to try to get him to come on the meeting
Right.
as well.
Okay. All right, great. That moves us on to item I. So at our last meeting, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, we went through a very long list of accomplishments of your administration with the support of the select board in FY 25. And including in that discussion were the objectives for FY 25 that were not, fully met because of, for good reasons, prioritization and so on, that will be carried over for FY 26. So I think we've covered those goals for FY 26. And unless you disagree, I think tonight we would just want you to give a high level overview of your proposed new goals for FY 26.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good summary.
So, if you want to go ahead.
All right. So I'll just start from the top. I mean, some of these are old and they get some overlapping, so I might repeat myself from last time. So I apologize. But so the first one is the land use master plan implementation. Scroll down a little. So we are applying for grants and working towards essentially the three outcomes that came from last year's presentation, where we kind of distilled the core recommendations out of the master plan, and we'll be working towards a complete streets program, economic development study, and a downtown revitalization study. The hope is that we'll be able to get grant funding for all three of these initiatives. Scroll down to the next one. MBTA zoning, so this is obviously ongoing, but now that we have submitted what we believe to be zoning that complies with the MBTA 3A, we're now working through the process with the Attorney General's office in EOHLC to ensure that it continues to move through, and ultimately we get certified or designated 3A community.
Great.
This one is website development. Again, a piece of this was, I added a piece of this. The website was done in completion. However, the one missing piece that we still need to work on, and is hopefully something we can get into this year, is it does have that public outreach, which mass notification database that I'm not sure if anybody here is a member of it. I know I've signed up for a bunch of stuff myself and it works really well, but you can essentially tell the website how you want to be contacted, either phone or email or both, and exactly what you want to be sent to you and when it's updated. So if you want to say, whenever a new select board, whenever the minutes are posted, let me know, and it'll send you a link and say, hey, the new minutes are posted, or when a new meeting is set. And you can do that right down to pretty much any board, committee, new news, new stuff like that. So I think it's underutilized. It's a really good tool. It's a selling feature on the website when we decided to go this route. It's just trying to get folks to use it. So hopefully we can push that a little bit harder this year. Let's see, creation, yep, so this is kind of standard operating procedures for all major roles in your organization to, you know, prevent things falling through the cracks as much as possible with turnover of key staff members. So we essentially spent last year identifying those staffs and creating redundancy within the departments and working on cross-training. And then with the cross-training will come written procedures for those key roles. That's what we're working on this year. This is ongoing from last year.
Yeah. I talked about that last year. Because it's not every committee lends itself to an SOP in the way that the Veterans Committee does. So we had talked about creating onboarding guides, the knowledge base that people need to have, the rules that they need to understand for joining committees, boards and committees, because not everyone does SOPs.
Great.
Um,
So more generally,
it's more generally onboarding, knowledge base, how the committee operates, and some of them may include SOPs because they do events that repeat and so forth, but not all committees do that.
Diane's been working on something that I think kind of fits that bill a little. It can be certainly tailored. But yeah, I'll amend this so we can add something like that to it. And then financial software, you can skip that one. It's an ongoing budget transition. So this is so again, you know, not to repeat myself too much, but you know, we've essentially sought and purchased and set up budgetary software. We have the transparency module up and running. This year is the first year that we we'll start using the capital module and then produce the final GFOA formatted, which that's general, the Government Financial Officers Association. It's a national association for accounting best practices in the United States, and they have essentially an outline of what needs to be in a budget document to check all the best practices. It's about a 200 to 300 page document. It's very robust, and that should be something that's what we're gearing to publish this year and hopefully every year into the future. All right, moving down. Trash collection alternatives. Again, this is carried from 25. I gave an update on this so last time. We can continue down. Town-owned land. This is so we've, as you know, so this is a semi carryover. However, with an additional action item that's been added to create a working group that will, sorry, I have a typo there, land parcels, but town-owned land parcels and prioritize them for disposal. So you know, now that we've generated a list, it's not complete. There's still a number of parcels that have significant research needed to get clear title and whatnot. But the ones that we are relatively comfortable with the title and how it was acquired, to start working in a working group with folks to prioritize, you know, what ones would lend itself best to be disposed of, which ones would lend itself best to possibly be utilized by the town, and then bring those recommendations forward to the select board.
Steve, just on that one,
Yep.
As you're assembling the working group, I know that I'm pretty confident anyway that David Anderson and Scott Schoenberger on the planning board would be interested in being on that working group. So you may want to just check with them as you're assembling it.
Yeah, I would as well.
Okay. Then we have the permitting fee study that's a carry forward from 25. As I said last time. See, review and update committee charges. This was a select board initiative, and that is ongoing. Yeah, Beverly Airport Commission Wenham seats that again, ongoing. I gave an update last time, but the long and short of it is they actually pay taxes. They don't pay a pilot, which is what differentiates us from Danvers. Or I believe they should be paying a pilot, not taxes. So we're trying to unravel as to how we came to that arrangement until we can move forward.
They're in the process of adding another huge hangar over there.
Yeah, I've heard they're I mean, I think that's their plan is to.
Well, it's
they're
happening.
expanding
They
the
are.
runway too.
Really?
I think so.
Well, they could only expand it into Wenham.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know all that. That's what I heard. That's not official news. And continue review of the regional school district agreement. So this is ongoing. I gave a brief little status update tonight, and also a more comprehensive one at the last meeting. Iron Rail Best Use Study. This is a multi-year project that has the potential to finalize or at least get some closure on the final steps of the outcomes from the Best Use Study. So what this year we'll be looking to do is get the select board in conjunction with the planning board to move forward at least part of exploring the rezoning and potential disposition of the property, if ultimately that's the direction the select board wants to move. So we'll be looking to align that with our April 26th annual town meeting. Moving to the next one. Let's see, policy. Oh yeah, so this is something carried from 2025. However, I didn't touch on it, but this is just a reminder that we have the flag policy, we have the light board policy, we have a general website policy about what we use the website for, but to build out more robust as far as like town land and what can advertise, what can go there, and just kind of kind of protect the town from what's considered government speech and freedom of speech, and to have a policy in place that everybody is treated equally, and that the town land isn't open for advertising of all purposes. And climate leader, that's what we just discussed. So that's items 3 through 6. 6, yep. And emergency response plans. This is actually something that was started when I very first started. Tom Younger dropped it on my lap, and we formed a management response team, which is comprised of both the deputy police and fire chief and the chiefs of police. And they were tasked with updating our emergency response document, which is a pretty thick manual that essentially outlines, disaster scenarios and how the town responds and who you call and all of that. And it's a pretty, it's a pretty heavy lift to update. They have done some of it in that there was a number of trainings they had to do. They had to do inventorying of equipment, purchase some equipment to make sure we're outfitted. So that they have started that, but it's kind of fallen off the last couple of years, and we're kind of remobilizing the team here, and with hopefully being planning on delivering a draft by the end of the fiscal year of an updated emergency response plan to the select board to kind of
By the way,
check that off.
a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, they had an active shooter drill at Gordon Cromwell. I did. That was insane.
Yeah,
And they had to like get out and tell everybody that this is a drill. Because if you say there's an active shooter, people from all over will come. People from Boston will come. Cops.
Wow.
But it was insane. I have a lot of more respect having seen that.
So hopefully we can get that in front of the board by this summer. And the next one sees the community choice aggregation is something that was accepted at a recent town meeting. So Joe has been working kind of behind the scenes, getting that program up and running. So more to come on that, but the hope is to have that at least close to fully implemented, if not completely implemented by this summer or shortly thereafter.
Excellent.
And moving down, safety improvements on 1A. This is the traffic sign, the traffic light project up in front of the fire station. This is a pretty major undertaking. There's a significant amount of temporary construction easements that we're working through with residents to, it's not a permanent taking, but they do need to have a couple of years where they have allowable use to park construction materials and do demo and dig things up on people's front yards. So we're working through that process. It does need town meeting vote. The appraisals need to be done. We've got to interview all the residents, and it's the first time I've gone through it. It's a pretty involved process. Certainly, the state had kind of fallen off for a while, and they came back, with a vengeance just a couple months ago. And just kind of went from nobody, crickets through DCAM and then or DOT, excuse me, and to being a very a high sense of urgency coming from the state to get it done. So, but our hope is to be able to align again with the April 2026 annual town meeting. All the takings will be hopefully in that warrant. Collective bargaining, so we're working, Joe, the goal is working to take the MOUs that executive sessions we just released and integrating them with Labor Council, our Labor Council with Union's Labor Council, and working to integrate those terms into the contract. Town Hall HVAC, everybody knows about that. We will hopefully wrap that up this year. It all seems to be going well thus far. 24 Cherry Street. This is the state-owned property that was formerly a assisted living facility that the state is now exploring the disposition of and working with the town to prioritize affordable housing and provide a structure that at least maintains some of the historical significance and fits into the neighborhood. Townwide speed limit. So this is, again, some of this stuff we've kind of already done because we are a number of months into the fiscal year already. So some has been started or partially complete. But again, this is the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit that we took on this last July. And West Wenham Park, just so they get these have been going on for a couple of years now. West Wenham Park, someone told me 7 years it's been in planning, so it's been a long time, but it looks like so these get their mention and memorialized. Both projects should be completed this year. Excuse me. And then the next 2 are coming again out of land use and planning. We're reviewing. We got the grant, but obviously this is somewhat backdated as we're looking at it. Like we're back in June. But we applied for a grant to have our subdivision rules and regulations reviewed and have a consultant work with the planning board through the process of updating them. The last time we updated ours was in 1982. So we did receive the grant. We have contracted.
1982?
Yeah. We have contracted with the consultant and are moving that forward through the planning board process. In the Affordable Housing Action Plan, our Affordable Housing Action Plan has recently expired, so we need to put another one in place. With that, we're adding the component of a housing needs assessment. So what's that going to do is it looks at the community's existing housing stock and kind of what the needs are in the community for affordable housing. And one of the things we want to look at specifically is the Harbor Light, is it Maplewoods? I get the name wrong, is it Maplewoods?
Yes.
Where we thought that was essentially a slam dunk for Wenham residents as far as affordability And I believe it was 20 or 30 of the first apartments were reserved for Wenham residents. And the interest was much, much lower than anybody thought, to the tune of just a small handful. So we're looking at kind of, if that's like, what is the need? Like not wrong, because it's a great facility, but where did we miss the mark when we're looking at these developments that are affordable, and we want to allow Wenham residents that, currently Wenham residents to kind of age in place and continue to live in town, what type of housing stock is attractive to them, where Maple Woods didn't seem to be it. And with that, we'll take that and develop an action plan that kind of shapes the next 5 years and where the Affordable Housing Trust will continue to go. And that is all I have for 26.
Thank you, Steve.
Town meeting also approved the $50,000 for the historic district guidelines.
Oh yeah, yep.
So that should be,
Yeah, we'll add that.
The HCC's actually already approved the scope of work, so we're just looking at a couple more edits, but then we'll be going after the vendors, procurement laws and everything, so we'll be getting that.
Yeah, we'll definitely add that to that. And then also the onboarding for the boards and committees you mentioned. I'll amend that and recirculate.
Thank you for flagging that, Deirdre and Joe. Any other comments on the FY26 goals?
Can you update that so all the stuff that's done goes away?
Yeah, I could. What I tried to do, if you scroll up, is like if you see in column E, Peter.
Column E.
Yeah, just keep going up till there's actually something in column E. So, like that's the year it was completed.
Right.
So it's just some of it are continuing. If it's completely done, it's not on there. If
Right.
it's a goal that has existed in a prior year, it's a kind of a tracking sheet, so we can see what action items were completed and when, and then when it's completely done. Some of them being this year.
There's a lot of good information
fall
here
off.
yes.
in terms of like what you guys have been doing.
Oh yeah, it's great. 25. If you go to 25, that's what we went over last time.
Right.
And it might not, it's not there, but anyways, that's kind of what you're talking about. All the stuff on there is what was completed, and then the stuff that's completed is not on this 26 one. This is new stuff.
So the septic loan program,
I
Because we
took that
did-
off last year because
look at it as completed.
I took it as completed. Yeah, 'cause it
Did
was
we
done.
actually approve the borrowing?
Yeah, we're good. We're taking
good?
applications.
Okay.
Yeah. When the select board about a month or 2 months ago
I mean, there is a great story here
signed the.
Yes.
in terms of what's been accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, it's, that's the idea, is to help shape the story eventually. And we've been getting closer and closer with this document. It's taken many shapes and sizes over the last few years, but I feel like we're closing in on something that it can be. It's not pretty, but it's a decent tracking document.
Would you ever consider putting it on the website?
Yeah, we were going to put the 20. Yeah, we were going to put the 20.
That would be really good.
Yeah.
So if people are interested, they go, oh, what are those coconuts doing?
We're not sold.
And what happened to this project?
Right,
And
yep.
What happened to that? Yeah.
So again, lofty goals like last year. I don't expect it all to be done, but I think we're going to put a pretty good dent in it this year.
I think it's well on its way.
Yep. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Steve. That brings us to old business. Any other matters that may not have been anticipated by the chair? I have none. Does anyone else have any other matters?
Nope.
All right. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So I move that we adjourn the October 7th, 2025 Select Board meeting at 7:47 p.m.
Second.
Great. Thank you. We'll take a roll call. Gary,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Deirdre,
Yes.
and Ben is yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Have
everybody.
a good night.
Thank you.